So I'm always tweaking my hiking setup to see what feels best, and more recently I've been getting pulled down into the ultralight rabbit hole. Now, I'm no ultralight purist. For the past few years I've been lugging around a stack of camera gear, but I've recently committed to doing a 217-mile through hike across the stunning Scottish Highlands this summer, and I want my load to feel noticeably lighter. So I've been testing out a heap of new kit, which should drop my base weight down to around 9.7 pounds or around 4.4 kilos. If you want to know what works, what I'm keeping, and what I'm getting rid of, then stick around. Alright, so let's start with what I've actually changed, and the first one is the big one, and that's my tent. And I've saved about 1.2 pounds or 540 grams here. I've swapped out my freestanding Big Agnes Copper Spur one-man tent for the Durston X Mid Pro one-person trekking pole tent. It's a hybrid single-wall design using Dyneema, and it's got a reputation for being one of the most spacious, simple to pitch, and storm-worthy ultralight shelters out there. The big standout is the interior volume. The geometry pushes the poles further apart so the space feels livable, and you also get two generous vestibules, one on each side. The floor is a roomy 90 inches long and 32 inches wide, so even with a wider mat, you're not fighting for space. Setup is also super user-friendly. It's a simple 4-stake pitch to get it standing, and there are some nice details as well, like the magnetic door toggles. And while I haven't had it in a proper storm yet, everything I've read online seems to suggest that it's going to hold up pretty well. You've got strong Dyneema, a full coverage fly to help block drafts and rain splatter, and if the weather turns up, you can take it from 4 stakes up to 12 to really anchor it down. Weight-wise, the X Mid Pro with the woven floor comes in at around 1.2 pounds or 550 grams, including the stakes. This isn't including the trekking poles that you need for setup as well, but because I normally hike with trekking poles anyway, this requirement doesn't really affect how much weight I'm carrying. There's also a full Dyneema floor option that saves about 1.7 ounces or 50 grams. But I chose to go with the woven floor because apparently it's meant to be a little bit more resilient. The downside is that this tent is not cheap. You're looking at roughly $600 US, and if you want to get the full Dyneema floor option as well, then you're going to be paying a bit more on top of that. You also need to factor in the trekking poles, and if you're not using trekking poles already, then you're going to have to purchase some for this tent. Plus, you've got the optional ground sheet as well. Now for the negatives, and one of the big ones that you see online is the condensation. And before I purchased this tent, I was fully aware of what I was getting into. There are a few good ways that you can manage it. You've got dual peak vents. You can also pitch it a bit higher by lengthening the corner cords, and in calmer conditions you can crack the doors. But when you're dealing with external moisture like heavy humidity, fog and rain, it can be a little bit harder to avoid, and that's really where your site selection is going to matter, and also bringing a little towel to wipe down the tent before pack up can be handy. And obviously with ultralight materials, there's always going to be the question around durability. You'll generally hear some people say that it needs a little bit more care, but I've also seen online a lot of hikers have used this tent for years and haven't really had any issues. For me, it's really going to come down to site selection and whether or not a ground sheet is used, and I do want one, but unfortunately they were sold out when I bought this tent. So the second thing I've changed are my trekking poles, and I've managed to save around 3.2 ounces or 90 grams here. I've always carried trekking poles, but because I've moved to the X Mid Pro, they're going to be even more important now, so I've upgraded to the Durston Iceline trekking poles. Each pole comes in at around 4.7 ounces or 134 grams, and honestly, they're a joy to use. They're a 3-piece design with one upper adjuster, and instead of a second lower adjuster, they use a quick connect mechanism. It removes a lot of the faff of trying to fine tune 2 adjusters or having one slip over time. It's simpler, faster and lighter. The quick connect feature allows you to pull these poles apart and store them away or travel with them in a really compact manner. Especially handy if you're storing them away in your rucksack or you're checking them in for luggage. They use high strength carbon and the tubing is a larger diameter near the tips, which makes sense because the quick connect design needs that extra rigidity compared to a thinner, fully telescopic pole. Now, they're definitely not the cheapest option either. They come in at around $190 US for the pair. But the reason that I went for them is that the design feels super intentional. Lightweight, easy to pack away, high quality and strong. So I've also changed up my liner, and here I've saved about 1.7 ounces or 50 grams in weight. And I've switched my liner over to the Western Mountaineering Tioga silk liner. And one of the big reasons I made this switch was actually because my old liner was just starting to fall apart and had a few holes and rips in it. This new liner by Western Mountaineering is about 3.7 ounces or 105 grams, so it's nice and lightweight and it's easy to stuff away as well. Its main job is pretty simple. It keeps my sleeping pad and my quilt nice and clean, but it also adds a few extra degrees of warmth on those chillier nights. It's made from soft, breathable silk, so it feels nice against the skin, and the best part is it's way easier to wash than the quilt or a pad, so I can keep my sleep system fresh without babying the expensive stuff. And the downside? Well, again, surprise, surprise, it's not cheap for what is basically just a bit of fabric. It's about $100 US, but for me on extended trips in the backcountry, keeping my gear nice and protected and clean and extending that gear's life is probably worth it. So the next bit of kit that I've changed is my cooking system, and I've managed to save about 4.5 ounces of weight here. I've swapped out my Jetboil Micro-Mo for a lower volume, lighter cooking setup. The goal here was simple: same reliability, less weight and less bulk, and that led me to the Soto Windmaster. So the stove itself comes in at about 2.3 ounces with the Triflex pot support, and it's become seriously popular, especially in the US, which is why I wanted to try it out. Paired with a Toke's 750ml pot, the whole cooking kit lands at around 6 ounces or 170 grams, and it takes up noticeably less space in my pack than the Jetboil system. Performance-wise, it's considered pretty solid. Fuel economy is roughly mid-range, about 1.5 hours of burn time from an 8 ounce or 250 gram canister. And it's also known for handling the wind really well. It's often claimed to boil about 2 cups of water in under 2.5 minutes, even in gusty conditions. One caveat I've seen mentioned quite often is that the high flow burner can be a little bit more temperamental in colder temps. So design-wise, a couple key details do matter. The pot sits close to the flame and the concave burner head acts like a built-in windscreen, which helps with efficiency and consistency when the weather isn't playing nice. And the fuel compatibility is pretty standard for most cooking stoves. It works with mixes like butane, isobutane, and propane, but it's not compatible with 100% propane. Price-wise, it's around $70 US, and for the weight and performance, I think that's pretty reasonable. So the next big change I've made is to my portable battery charger, and I've managed to save about 8.8 ounces of weight here. So I've ditched my 20,000 milliampere Anker power bank, which was basically a huge brick, for the new Nightcore NB 10,000 milliamperes Gen 3. It's ridiculously light at about 5.2 ounces, which is a huge change compared to that previous power bank, which sat around 14 ounces. The slim design and the carbon fiber frame panels make it feel more like a piece of ultralight gear than a brick. You get 2 USB-C ports plus a simple LED indicator so you can see what you've got left. The big trade-off here is capacity, and I'm definitely getting a lot less charges on my iPhone 13 compared to the Anker power bank that I had before. This new power bank is giving me just over 2 full charges, depending on how much I'm using the phone. It costs around $65 US, which I think is pretty reasonable given just how light this power bank is. So I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, SUPCASE. They make a range of high quality protective cases for your electronic devices. The SUPCASE MagSafe wallet is an exclusive patented design. It is the pioneer of a 4-in-1 wallet with a multi-angle foldable phone stand and card storage. It holds up to 5 cards, and the MagSafe grip is rated up to 3 kilograms, so it stays put on the back of your phone. The best part is the stand. Flip it open and you've got multiple angles for calls, videos, or quick hands-free use at your desk or on the go. The details are pretty awesome too. A quick access slot for grabbing a card, a durable hinge for a stable stand, and a metal lock cover that helps protect cards and prevent scratches. You can also use the wallet to hold your phone whilst you're vlogging with it. A nice little touch. The UB Pro AirPods 4 case is also solid. It feels properly rugged, constructed with dual layer TPU and polycarbonate materials for military grade drop protection. The big standout for me is the double locking design at the charging point, and the hinge ensures IP68 waterproof protection up to 10 feet. And I love the carabiner. Just clip it onto your backpack strap so your AirPods are always easy to grab. It's still practical too. Charging is easy through the cutout, and you can still see the charging light as well. And finally, SUPCASE have just released the UB case for the Samsung S26 Ultra, built for everyday life without feeling too bulky. The aluminium alloy kickstand is the real standout. It's stable, doesn't wobble, and you can dial in the angle in both portrait and landscape. Protection wise, it's still MIL standard certified and 15-foot drop tested with raised edges to protect the screen and camera, plus reinforced corners. And it's got strong MagSafe style magnets too, up to 1.8 kilos of holding force with N52 magnets. So thank you SUPCASE for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to my gear. So next is my sleeping pad, and this is one of the rare circumstances where I've actually gained a bit of weight with this swap. I've switched from the Thermarest Neo Air Extra Light to the Nemo Tensor Insulated, which has added about 3.5 ounces of weight. So part of this change was actually forced as my old Thermarest had been deflating overnight for quite some time now. But I also wanted to try something that's more comfortable and honestly less noisy when you move on it at night. The Tensor Insulated hits a pretty nice balance. It's known for being really comfortable thanks to its stable baffle design and plush loft. It stays relatively light for the comfort you get, and it's noticeably quieter than a lot of other ultralight pads. Warmth wise, it's in the all season range with an R value of 5.4, which is pretty much more than enough for any of the conditions that I'm expecting to be in. So far it's been a pretty great swap, and the benefits of the comfort and improved sleep that I'm getting are definitely worth the addition of the extra grams that I'm carrying. Price wise, it's roughly $240 US, and there's a range of different sizes that you can get which will fluctuate in price as well. So a quick summary of all of these upgrades and I guess what it's actually done to the kit. The big theme here is that I've moved away from bulkier, probably more convenient kit to a more modular ultralight setup. And across all of these swaps, the tent, poles, cook system, charger, pad, and the liner, my net savings is around 2.1 pounds or 960 grams of weight. But none of this is free, and I want to be honest about what I'm sacrificing here. And the first one is cost. A lot of this gear is premium ultralight gear that I've swapped to, and that's expensive. Second is convenience, and I've gone from a freestanding tent in the Big Agnes to a trekking pole tent for the weight savings. This means that I'm going to have to be more considerate about my site selection and pitching the tent. It's still simple, but it's not as simple as setting up the tent and throwing it down anywhere or being able to move it around. Third is condensation, and it's going to be more of an issue in the single hybrid wall of the X-Mid Pro. There's obviously ways that you can manage that condensation, but it's still going to be part of the overall package and just something that I'm going to have to be more considerate about. Fourth is durability and care. So ultralight materials can obviously still be quite resilient and quite strong, but there's going to have to be more of a focus on site selection and ideally a footprint when I can get my hands on one. Fifth is the power buffer, and the NB10000 has still got at least 2 chargers for my iPhone in it, but it's considerably less compared to my old power bank. So I'm just going to have to be a little bit more cautious of overusing the phone, and I probably won't be using the AllTrails app as much. And finally, I'm making a very deliberate change with my sleeping pad where I've actually gained extra weight, but in the pursuit of getting some extra comfort so that my sleep can be as good as it possibly can and I can recover on the trail so I can feel fresher and walk further each day. So that's all the gear that I'm changing at the moment and that I'm keeping on the trail. There's been some very intentional trade-offs in cost, comfort, and convenience here, but I'm really trying to dial in a nice lightweight setup that works for me, and it's still relatively comfortable so that I can recover well and perform long distance through hikes on the trail without crashing and burning. There's still some comfort items in there like my sleeping bag liner and my pillow, but for me, I really do think these things are worth it, especially when it comes to sleep and recovery. And we all know that this gear is only half the equation, and the other half is the fuel that you consume to complete your hikes. So if you want to see exactly what I eat on the trail, go watch this video where I make a 5-day meal plan for a hike in the remote southwest Tasmania. It's right here, click it, and I'll see you there.